What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be getting into the NBA power rankings. It's been a week and a couple days. I wasn't able to get to it yesterday, but I'm back now, so that's all that matters. But anyway, let's get into the power rankings. That's going to start out with the number 30 team, and actually 6 teams in a row are going to be staying at the same spot from last week. So Detroit Pistons, 12 and 45, and then the next team, Magic. It's basically the same thing every week. If you want to know more about these teams, go back to my other videos. But basically, they're staying at the same standstill. 2 close teams. And then Houston, basically the same thing as well from previous weeks. They're just a little bit better than the Magic and Pistons, but they're not as good as making it to the bad tier. They're kind of in that middle of getting out of that trash tier, but staying in that trash tier because they're just not quite good enough. And then the Thunder at number 27. I was actually tempted to move the Thunder up past the Pacers, but I do think the Pacers are the better team even without Sabonis, which they traded away. They did get some good pieces back for him, but still, Sabonis, losing him is a big. He's an all-star, I believe. Isn't he an all-star? I think he is. At least he was an all-star last year. Actually, they're 20 and 40. They won a game. So I just feel like they're better than the Thunder, just by a decent margin. I mean, they're not. They're in a bad tier for a reason, though. Both these teams, because these teams aren't close at all to making it into that in the hunt tier. But maybe they get on a win streak. Maybe they could do it. I definitely could see it happening more than the Rockets, Magic, or Pistons. So basically, that wraps up a really quick version of those 5 worst teams in the league. And then number 25, the Kings, the last team that stays in the same spot for a while. We're going to see some movement. But Sacramento, 22 and 37, still kind of hanging on by like a thread to make it into the play-in tournament. They're 3 games back on the Trailblazers, who are in it right now. But they're hanging around. If you're going to stay 4 and 6 in the last 10 games, you're going to basically be hanging around in that tier. But they got Sabonis. Maybe they got a chance to sneak in there. And then number 24, the Spurs. This team is nothing without Popovich. If they don't have Popovich, this team might be in the trash tier. It's just Popovich that elevates this team so much. Don't see them making the playoffs, so it's rebuild time in San Antonio. But at 22 and 36, they at least have something going for them. And they're only 2 games back on the 10 seed, which is the Trailblazers. And then number 23, and by the way, the Spurs were dropping down a spot. And then another team that's going to be dropping down a spot because is going to be the Trailblazers out of the play-in tournament tier. And after they traded away McCollum, I mean, I was just like, this team is ready to blow things up. And it's just, I think the team, I think you know them by now, the Pelicans. I'm just going to throw them up there. But the Pelicans are much better now at 22. And they're going to be jumping up 2 spots. With McCollum, if Williamson can come back, this is the 10th best team, at least in the West. It's just not really a contest. I feel like that's pretty simple, and a lot of people can agree with me on that one. But yeah, that is the play-in tournament. I mean, that is the in the hunt tier for the West. We still got 2 teams. And then number 21 is going to be the Knicks, going to be dropping down a spot, basically because the Wizards did a trade, and yeah, but the Knicks are still staying the Knicks. Have lost 3 straight. I mean, just disappointed. You expect more out of this Knicks team after a decent year. They got the talent to make the play-in tournament, at least. They're not pulling it together, and I don't think they will by the end of the year. And then, yeah, the number 20 team, the Wizards, I liked that trade to go out and get Porzingis. That elevates this team. I mean, with that Harrell, getting rid of Westbrook was a good deal for this Wizards team. I think they're a play-in tournament team, especially if they're in the Western Conference. Oh, wait, my bad. I had actually put them in there. But, of course, they're not in the Western Conference, so they're going to have to stay in that hunt tier. but I do see the Wizards as a decent team. And I think that they could be in the mix by the end of the year. I mean, they're only a game and a half back on the Hawks, who's the 10 team. All right, let's move on to number 19. Done with that plane and that in the hunt here, which will be 19 will be the Hornets. Going to be dropping down 3 spots. They jumped up 3 spots last week. They're going to be dropping down 3 spots this week. They're just inconsistent. They've lost 2 straight. They're 2-8 in the last 10 games. I mean, it's just that simple. They're just very inconsistent team, and I just don't see them. I don't know, just really. I mean, they're just like they were last year. I mean, I honestly like the Wizards a little bit more, but than the Hornets. I think they maybe can take them over. Wizards got the better record right now, though, and I gotta respect it. But yeah, Wizards and Hornets are very close there, though. And then number 18 is going to be the Hawks, going to be jumping up a spot. The Hawks have won 2 straight, so that's got them going for them. But basically, they're jumping up because of the Hornets. I mean, it was very close for them moving up to these next couple teams. But, I mean, Hawks, as long as you have Trae Young, I don't see them missing out on this play-in tournament. And I think this team could slide into the playoffs. We'll see what happens. But you like to see the Hawks playing good ball. And then number 17, LA Lakers, of course. Obviously, the negative is going around by LA. I mean, they're just a meme. And with Westbrook right now, they've lost 3 straight. Of course, they're struggling. 26-31, though. But like I've said every week, I mean, as long as you got LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and, I mean, not really just, I wouldn't consider Westbrook in that, but as long as you have LeBron, you could just say that they're going to be a play-in tournament team. And which is kind of crazy that this team is just a play-in tournament team. But, I mean, it is what it is. The Lakers, I mean, with that talent, you got to put them high on this list. And then number 16, we got the Clippers at 29-31. Going to be jumping up a couple spots. The LA Clippers have lost the game, but they're 4-6 in the last 10 games. Basically, you're going to be jumping up because of the Lakers' demise and the Hornets' demise. So that's really all this is about for the Clippers. They're still the Clippers, I know. And yeah, that's basically just all it is. All right, and then moving on to number 15, we're going to have the Timberwolves. And these teams are kind of separating them after this Clippers team, kind of separating them from the pack of play-in tournament teams. But the Timberwolves going to be dropping down a spot from last week. I mean, it's just because of what this team above them has done. But the Timberwolves, it's pretty impressive. I mean, they are only a game and a half back on the Denver Nuggets, who are the 6th seed. So that's quite impressive for Minnesota. And this is a team that last year, they just were garbage. And until that end of the year when they got better. And we're starting to see this talent come into place. And I feel like it's always been there. They just had to dig it out. So you like to see the Timberwolves have some success. That's why they're going to be in this near the top of this play-in tournament tier at number 15. And then number 14, we got the Toronto Raptors. I mean, Toronto, it's very close between Minnesota and Toronto. But Toronto has lost 2 straight, but I want to ignore that. They're 8-2 in the last 10 games. They're playing great basketball. You just can't go wrong. I mean, they're only a game back on the number 16 in the East, and that is the Celtics, who are just on fire. So it is pretty impressive what this Raptors team. I mean, it's just very well coached, and Van Vliet's coming on, and all these guys, they're just piecing them together to be a good team that you never know. Come playoff time, they can give a 1 seed like the Bulls or the Heat or the Bucks or someone or the Sixers a run for their money in the playoffs. So that's really my stance on the Raptors. They're just a well-coached, good, decent team. But then the collapse of the Nets just continues. Going to be dropping down 3 spots. I basically dropped down 2 tiers in the last 2 power rankings I made. Obviously, they traded for Simmons. I think they won that trade in general, like for the future. Simmons is we'll see how good he is. But either way, they got didn't they get Curry and Drummond? It's decent. But the Nets still, I mean, they've dropped they're just fallen off a cliff. They're 2 games back from the from being in the normal field, and they used to be up there like number 3. I mean, I ranked them there. They have won 2 straight. They're getting back, but still, the Nets just got to change things around as soon as possible. But yeah, that'll wrap up the play-in tournament tier. Now we're going to move on to this playoff tier. And that's going to start out with the number 12 team, the Nuggets, at 32 and 35. Denver, if you look at Denver, Jokic, obviously one of the best players in the league, has won 2 straight. Really just carrying this team. I mean, but the Minnesota Timberwolves are catching up on them. You can't not recognize that. I mean, it's pretty close between that Timberwolves team and the Nuggets. But, I mean, the Nuggets are still a playoff team and potentially a contender team. I don't know when Murray's coming back, but, I mean, once they can get some of these guys back, they can be a top-tier team like I had them at the beginning of the year. And then number 11, the Cavaliers. I mean, I have been criticizing the Cavaliers, not because they've been playing bad. It's just because I don't believe in them come playoff time. They've lost 2 straight. And they're going to be dropping down 2 spots of them. I cannot get over the fact that this team has like literally no playoff experience. It's just young guys. They got a bright future there. But I just can't see them going deep into the playoffs. And I can't put them in that contender tier. But they're still good enough to be at number 11. And in this playoff tier, I do think that they are a good team. I'm just not nearly as high as them as a lot of these other power rankings have them. But then moving on to number 10, we have the Dallas Mavericks, who are 34 and 24. Dallas is only a game and a half back on Utah. They've won one straight. They're getting back into this. They're doing good, basically. I mean, they're really just jumping up because the Nuggets have been not doing the greatest. Well, they haven't been doing the greatest, but they're kind of separating themselves from the Nuggets. And the Cavaliers lost 2 straight. That's basically all this is about. Mavs jumping up 2 straight. You got Luka Doncic. You trade away Porzingis, which is going to take you back a little bit, but you're still fine. And that's where my stance on the Mavs. And then let's move on to number 9, who completely has turned things around. The Boston Celtics. Like, where did this come from for Boston? I know they just lost one, but they're 9-1 in the last 10 games. They've won 9 straight before that loss. It's just crazy what the Celtics have been doing right now. I mean, they're 34 and 26 right now. They're only a game and a half back on the Sixers, who I have at a number as a contender. It's just interesting, and they were used to be down in this playoff tier at like 16-ish. I mean, they've completely changed things around, and is now at that top tier team and nearly actually into that contender. They got Tatum. They got a lot of good pieces. I mean, this is what we're expecting coming into last year. They've kind of stood in that mix like 7 seed, 8-ish in the East. Now they're kind of breaking apart maybe to be a contender like their talent says they should. All right, let's move on to number 8, which will be the 76ers. I know they just traded for Harden. I don't think they won this trade unless they're going to win a championship this year. That's the only way I can see them winning this trade, is if they win a championship this year or in a couple years or something. But it's still the Sixers. I mean, I got to see what happens with Embiid and Harden before I can just jump on the bus of this team. Because there's some issues here. I mean, they lost Curry, they lost Drummond. And they lost 2 first-round picks for the future, which is not about this year, but still, I just need to see what happens with this for me to raise them. And there's a lot of good teams above them still. This 8th spot is still really good. But yeah, the Sixers, that's where I stand on them. And then number 7, we got the Bucks. Bucks are to be dropping down 3 spots. I mean, Milwaukee's jumping up a spot. I just think I've won straight, but some of these teams above them have taken a little bit more elevated, have gotten a lot more wins. That's where this is about here. But yeah, the Bucks, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo. Of course, this team might make the championship game. I mean, that's about it. This team's just really good. And then number 6, we got the Miami Heat, who have fallen out of the 1 seed to the Bulls. And the Heat are going to be jumping up a spot because of the Bucks. 37-21. They're still 6-4 in the last 10 games. They're still the Heat. I still have had the Bucks ahead of the Heat for a reason. And yeah, but the Miami Heat, they got Butler, they got Lowry. They're going to be okay come playoff time. And it's just about getting that 1 seed, which they're fighting to get. And then number 5, the Bulls, who've gone on a winning streak of won 5 straight, 38-21. Probably making the case that they should be ahead of this next team, which is the Utah Jazz. I'll throw them up there. But the Bulls, again, kind of like the Heat, they're still the Bulls. I mean, they've gone on a winning streak, but they got LaVine, they got DeRozan, they got all these pieces. I mean, obviously, at the beginning of the year, I was just a little bit hesitant, as basically everyone was, if this team was going to mesh, because they just went all in this free agency, and they meshed. So this team is a contender, and be watched out. I think this team should be the favorite entry into the playoffs to make the championship game. And then Utah, who's going to be jumping up a spot, has completely snapped that losing streak and has won 6 straight. Now has the second most plus or minus in the league. And this Utah Jazz team, they're just so dominant in the offensive end. It's just crazy. And Gobert's coming back. They're actually playing the Lakers right now. They're up by 3. But, I mean, Utah, people should stop sleeping on this team. I could see them down at like 9th, 8th in some power rankings. I just cannot see that. I don't get why. They're right up there with the records of these East teams. And I think they're just straight up better than these Eastern, I'll be honest. But they're in the Western Conference. It's going to be tough for them to make the championship game going through all those good teams. But they can do it if they could just, win come playoff time and actually live up to their potential. But anyway, the top 3 teams not changing. We got the Grizzlies at number 3. Grizzlies have won 6 straight, 41-18. You love to see it from the Grizzlies, are actually catching up on the number 2 seed team, which is the Golden State Warriors, at 42-16. Still, Warriors, Curry, everything. They're not the best team in the league, but they are really close. Well, they're not close. The Suns, who have a percentage of 825. 82.5. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. But that's their win to loss percentage. That's insane. You just do not see that. I mean, for example, the Utah Jazz at 36-21 has a percentage of 632. I mean, it is just insane how good this Suns team is. They are a 42-16 team. And to take this into comparison, for the Eastern Conference, the best team in the East is 10 games back on the Suns if they did this 1-16 format that a lot of people want. But anyway, the Suns, I mean, they're just amazing. They've won 6 straight. Yeah, they're playing good ball right now. But anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video today. I hope you all enjoyed the content, this power rankings. Comment down below your rankings. Anyway, peace.